Hello and welcome to Marketing Speak. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, and today it's my pleasure to have Jason Moffatt with us. Jason has been teaching entrepreneurs how to leverage the power of the internet in unique and out-of-the-box ways for over 17 years. If you desire to get paid what you're truly worth and want to discover a much easier path for wealth accumulation, Jason's the guy you want to listen to. Jason, it's so great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me, Stefan. I appreciate being here.
Let's start with your origin story because you've been in this game for a long time. 17 years, 18 years, whatever it is. And yeah, I'm sure you have a great origin story to share with our listener. Let's start there.
Yeah, I think it might even be longer than 17 years. I'm pretty sure I had like a lemonade stand in my mom's womb. Like, I I've always been a hustler, a marketer of some sort, but I stumbled onto the internet. I was kind of a late bloomer to the internet. I think I got on around 2004-ish, 2003, 2004-ish. I'm
That's still
47 years
pretty.
old, I think.
That's still pretty early. That's still pretty. I'm 51, and I
Yeah,
got on
so
in 95. started my first business and internet business in 95. So I got you beat by a few years.
so I was blessed to kind of I remember I had been marketing for about I don't know, maybe almost a year online before it ever occurred to me to type into Google like how to make money or that other people were doing these kind of things. I was just flipping stuff on Craigslist or eBay for quite some time because as a kid, I bought and sold stuff in classified newspapers. And I remember even, gosh, 16 years old, I think I bought Don Lepree's Make Money from Your One Bedroom Apartment, placing tiny classified ads or whatnot. And actually, I bought that and I bought Kevin Trudeau's Mega Memory System and Stephen Berg's Mega Speed Reading. And my idea is like, I'm just going to sit in the library all summer and read every book and memorize it all and become a genius. And,
How'd that work
uh,
out?
well, I got a signed copy of Kevin Trudeau's thing over here that he sent me. I think the guy's getting out of prison pretty soon too. And oddly, I still remember the lessons taught to me in that thing almost 30 years ago. So it actually did what it was advertised to do. I remembered a lot, and I still use a lot of those techniques to this day. But so when I got onto the internet in 2003-ish, I was just doing my own thing, making a few bucks here and there, flipping stuff on Craigslist, eBay. And then I typed into Google finally like how to make money on the internet or something like that. And I landed upon Gary Halbert's website.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what a place to land when you first are starting your adventure. And as I started reading it, I didn't quite grasp what I was reading. And for those of you listening, you can go to thegaryhalbertletter.com. It's just a series of all of his old newsletters out there. And it's all revolving around direct marketing and sales copy. And when I first started reading it, I didn't even quite comprehend what I was reading. I watched an interview with this kid, Jason Cox, who made like, I don't know, $15,000 as a 14-year-old doing some JV. And I listened to that interview 3 times and I still didn't even understand what a joint venture was. But I was like, these are my people. I found my thing. And I didn't quite grasp, but I could tell I'm like, these people are like me. And so I just went down the rabbit hole from there. And I think I might be one of the luckiest guys in all of internet marketing because once I started, I was also a private investigator at the time. So I was really smart at like assimilating facts and people and figuring out who was legit and who wasn't. And so I started making all these folders and all roads led me to Frank Kern. And
Hmm.
I was like, that's the guy I probably most align with in real life and the kind of person who has the morals that I would aspire to market with and whatnot. And um, ended up becoming part of his community, told myself that I was going to become their very best student possible, where they couldn't ignore me because Frank did ignore me for the first 6 months. I think I was around. I sent him emails and nothing. But then I proved myself to be an asset. I proved that their system worked, and I continually just helped out in that community with him and Ed Dale, 2005 ish, to the point that nobody could deny me or ignore me. And from there, it was kind of a lot of things were easy for me. Being sidekicks with Frank, I was surfing buddies with him for, I don't know, 7, 8 years. Spent all my family vacations, or like Christmas and Thanksgiving with his family because I didn't have family in San Diego. And he basically just became my brother. And yeah, so that's how it all kind of started for me.
Amazing. Yeah. For some people, he might seem unapproachable or just kind of standoffish, but he's a really good guy. I got a little glimpse of that. For example, just simple interaction. I was carrying a big box of my books. I have these really heavy and thick books. The Art of SEO is a 994 page tome, and I was giving them away at a war room meeting, and so I had like 2 or 3 boxes I was carrying from my car into the conference room, and Frank offered to carry some of the boxes. That's a really cool guy. And I was like, but I have to get one of the books in order to do this. So of course you're going to get a book. Yeah,
He epitomizes Southern gentleman.
yeah.
And, I spent so much time with him in situations like that where maybe a camera isn't on or there isn't onlookers. And he's the same guy on camera, off camera, and as generous as anyone I've ever met in my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. I got to. I attended at the Hard Rock Hotel in like 2010. It was a birthday bash slash launch or something for I forget what product it was. Um, Mass control or list control, maybe even list control. It was like for people who signed up for list control, they got to attend this event. And yeah, it was like a
I
multi-day event,
wonder,
really good stuff.
did we meet in that event?
Probably not, or at least I don't remember it.
Because I spoke at all those events back in that time.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still get emails to this day from the very first one he did, the Hard Rock. I was the idiot wearing the big red sombrero and poncho and drinking beer on stage at 10 a.m. and invited everyone in the crowd up there to have a fiesta and eat nachos and pound beers at 10 a.m. And I
Oh,
literally
that sounds familiar. Actually, that sounds quite familiar.
I literally still
Oh,
get at least one email a month about that. I mean,
that's
well over 10
hilarious.
years later. I
Mm-hmm.
can't, I watch the video and I just cringe watching myself on these like ADHD rants. And then right in the middle of the rant, I go on another one and then spike off onto another one. I'm just this chaotic mess of ideas.
Well, I think of ADHD as a superpower, and so yeah, it's not. You're not a hot mess by any
Yeah,
stretch. You're
there's actually a book that I've been listening to the audio and it's been somewhat helpful. It's called Driven. And it's all about driven by Douglas Brackman, PhD, and some other guy, Randy, that I can't see in here. But
okay.
yeah, it's all about kind of transforming that story and not letting it necessarily be a crippling thing or a crutch, but turning it into a superpower. And I need to listen to that audio about 400 more times.
Oh, you know the world expert on ADD and ADHD is Dr. Ned Hallowell, and he's written a bunch of books on ADD. I'm in Genius Network, and he spoke at a Genius Network meeting last month, the annual event. So he spoke, I spoke there as well, and he's going to be on my podcast on the other show on Get Yourself Optimized, the personal development podcast. So we're going to talk all about ADD and ADHD. You should listen to that episode. But I would check out his books because those could be life changing for you as well. And this is a little tidbit I'll share with you that really made a difference for me. I've never gotten diagnosed, but I actually called my blog for a decade Stephan Spencer's Scatterings. So that could probably give you a hint that I would probably hit the diagnosis if I chose to get tested. But the thing that made the difference for me was learning about how there were not just hunters and gatherers back in the day, but also a third type. There were the spotters. The spotters kept the tribe alive because if the herd was on the move and the rest of the tribe wouldn't notice, it would be the spotters that would notice before the tribe runs out of their food source.
Yeah.
Or if a neighboring tribe is sneaking up on them to murder them all in the middle of the night, it would be the spotters that would notice it. So evolutionarily, we were selected for having spotters. And in fact, I think there was a study done where they had monkeys where they identified the spotters and they took them out of the tribe, and then the tribe of monkeys died, couldn't make it. I forget where that study came from, but my wife told me about it like a week ago, which is kind of funny. It correlates with this whole thing about spotters. And so if you are essentially a spotter, that is a very important role to play, and it's a superpower if think of it as a disorder or as something that's negative. It's not at all.
Yeah, it's interesting to bring that up because I can hunt and I can gather. Um, I'm a huge forager, amateur mycologist. I've been hunting mushrooms in the woods for a long time. But when I think of being a spotter, I'm definitely a spotter more than I'm a hunter or gatherer. And the reason that I'm able to gather is because the way my brain works, I know that these particular mushrooms are going to be at 3,500 feet after a rain 3 days in this particular climate zone or whatnot. All those little details and facts that I think a lot of people might gloss over or be overwhelmed with, those really get my engines moving and my wheels moving. And so I think I'm all three of those, but I'm probably best as a spotter by far. And I can see why that would be more advantageous in a group than the other two, because lots of people can hunt, lots of people can gather, but I don't think everybody can spot.
Yeah, yeah.
Makes
So
sense.
being an expert on mushrooms, you must know of Paul Stamets, right?
Oh yeah, I know Paul Stamets. I got into an elevator with him once in Costa Mesa and started talking about morels and different things, and his eyes all lit up that I could talk mushrooms with him, and it was a cool experience. And I seen him give it might have been a TED talk or one of his more popular talks where he talks about healing his mom's, I think, stage 4 cancer with the turkey tail mushroom. And boy, oh
Mm,
boy, I was just like in tears listening to that. It was amazing. And
yeah,
then
he's
just
an amazing guy.
yeah, and then just the broader idea of what mycelium networks can do and to transform, information and whatnot. I mean, I don't know if I believe it, but to me, the most plausible idea of why Earth is even here is it's one big mushroom, and we're all cosmic fungus that created here. And maybe whether astrologers look at it a certain way, I kind of look at the planets and all the stars as maybe some kind of mycelium type network that we're all intertwined together. We just have no idea what that all entails. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we
I
definitely are all connected. We
I
all
used
are
to
connected.
I used to enjoy the I call them the J Dubs, but the Jehovah's Witnesses used to come knock on my door once a week. We'd have good chats, and they stopped coming around when I told them that we're all from mushrooms and that they should eat some psychedelic mushrooms. And then my friends were like, "Man, if I knew that would have worked, I would have talked about mushrooms a long time ago." And I was like, "I miss these guys; they're great. I want them to come back and have a mushroom party."
Oh my,
But
yeah.
for
Well,
me,
my
um,
grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, and my mother too. And yeah, oh my goodness,
yeah, so
they
that
would
joke,
try to convert me all the time. Like when I was little, read Awake and and what's the other magazine? Watchtower magazines
Watchtower,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, when I was a little kid. Oh my goodness.
I tend to really like hanging out with Jehovah's Witnesses a lot. They seem to be just such great people. I like to do business with Mormons. Um, Seems to be a good experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, when
Yeah,
I
me
talk
too.
about mushrooms too, a lot of people end up thinking, psychedelic and trippy mushrooms. And I think that there's a lot of evolution going on right now with that, particularly in treating PTSD and depression and different.
Yeah.
And I even actually had a magical experience about 7 months ago that transformed my whole life. Um, but
Oh wow.
my area of expertise
Okay,
is
you,
more.
you gotta you can't leave us hanging. You gotta tell us what that transformative experience was.
Okay, I will. But my expertise is more in the edible mushrooms that I'd sell to restaurants and stuff, and just picking the woods. But so I grew up as a kid doing all kinds of psychedelics. Probably had 100 acid trips before I was 20 years old, and ate tons of mushrooms. But in the last 10 years, I don't think hardly any. Definitely not any LSD. But I ate some mushrooms in a significant amount. Um, After I got divorced about 7 months ago, and I just laid in my bed and I just had this overwhelming feeling of love that I could have never described before, and then also forgiveness for not only myself but everybody else out there. And then I ended up being so high that I felt like I was sitting at the table with Jesus and Buddha and Mahavir and Muhammad and like all the characters in the religious game. And I was just like, guys, we got to let everybody know about this stuff and this love, and we can change the world. And I actually recorded myself on audio because I felt like I was literally there with these gods giving me the answers to all the issues. And I was like, I found the issues for addicts and people that are depressed, and we just need to love each other. And um, clearly I was insanely high, and I recognized that in the moment too. But I kept asking myself, like, I want to, this is so beautiful. And I'm not a stranger to love or empathy or connecting with other people. I think I do it at a level that most people don't. But this was so next level. I was like, I need to figure out how to retain this and carry it on after the drugs wear off, so that I don't have to. I don't even like calling it drugs. Probably more medicine might be more appropriate. But
Yeah, plant medicine. Yeah.
yeah,
Although
which is just
mushrooms are not really a plant.
yeah, which is, I don't know, which I guess is just another way to justify saying I'm going to go do drugs, but whatever. Um, so I really wanted to hold on to this feeling as much as I could without having to go back to the mushroom well over and over again. And boy, oh boy, for like 3 months, I couldn't get upset about anything. Guy cuts me off in traffic. I'm like, it's okay, bro. You need to go quicker than I do, apparently. And people, Facebook, for instance, particularly, we're in a time when everything's so divisive, regardless of what the topic may be. And it's hard to not, I'm a middle of the road guy, and I really try to see all sides of any topic or debate. And it was just painful to watch people I love and care about fighting or, displaying really, I don't know, poor sides of them. And I used to really react to it and sometimes even get into the arguments and stuff. And all that just evaporated. And I had no desire to want to prove anybody wrong or to argue with anybody. I just wanted to see their side a little bit more and tend to understand. And, I think it's been 6 or 7 months later, and I don't think the feeling is as intense after that first couple months, but it transformed me a lot because I'm an instigator. I'm a debater. I like challenging people's thoughts. I like I'm well versed in politics since I was a kid. particularly in the parts that I don't even agree with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like the worst guy to get into an internet squabble about that stuff, because I'm really good at making people, I don't know, I just know how to win the arguments or use humor in a way to deflect. So I'm always walking away, kind of smelling like a rose and make you really frustrated that you can't
You'd
fight
be a
with me.
troll's worst nightmare.
Yeah, it's kind of like I always talk about it too. Like, I'm slippery, If I got in a bar fight, I wouldn't grab a pool stick. I would get naked and put coconut oil all over me and be like, "Bring it on!" Like, nobody can mess with me.
That's an interesting visual. Okay.
Yeah, you can edit that one out if you want.
No, that's got to stay. Okay, so
Just don't make it the bumper for the promotion of this episode.
oh, that's a good idea. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you could sum up the most most impactful kind of epiphany that you've had in a bumper sticker, what would it be? And I'll give you mine as an example of just reveal light in everything you do. It's pretty simple to me. Like, as long as you're thinking about that before you start a podcast interview, before you go on stage, before you have a client or prospect meeting, before anything, you're just gonna create a lot of value and a lot of goodness in the world.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's kind of hard to go wrong if that's your agenda, trying to bring light to anything. And gosh, it's clearly needed with the amount of darkness, going on, which seems to just multiply every week. It's like, gosh, it almost seemed like we're getting a light at the end of this COVID tunnel, and it's now we got all kinds of otherworldly crap throwing darkness. So I think we need as many people sharing light as much as they can. So I'm one appreciative that you do that, and I'm sure many other people are as well. My bumper sticker would probably be just an acronym that I actually learned just from watching Frank Kern over the years, and I call it LEAN. And the acronym is L being learn, or I mean, it's my bad, listen, then empathize, then assist, and then negotiate. And so I try to take that into pretty much anything that I do. Listening is such a valuable skill, one that I often lacked because, I want the mic, I want to talk. Hey, everybody, look at me. And I don't know that I was always listening very well. And even maybe when I was listening for those moments for a pause, so then I could get my genius wisdom in there as well. And it wasn't truly listening. And then that kind of takes you to the E, being empathizing. If you're truly empathizing, then you're listening at a different level because you truly care and you want to care even more. And if you're really empathizing, you're taking yourself out of the whole thing and you're really trying to come to the best solution or scenario for the person that you're listening to. And then you get to the A, which is the assist. And if you've done the listening, you've made people feel heard, which most people don't feel very heard. If you empathize with them, you make them feel understood. People very seldomly feel very understood. And then if you go to the assist mode from those two things, you're able to actually assist what they may really need. And sometimes that assisting isn't selling your product or service. A lot of times people get on a coaching call and the whole goal is to sell your thing. Well, no, the goal is to help the person. And sometimes your product or service may be the thing that helps them, but it may sometimes be a recommendation for something entirely different. And
Right.
if you're really empathizing with them, it isn't about you necessarily making the sale or the commission. It's about that person getting that result. So if you've done the L, the E, the A, then when it comes time to negotiate, it's really not much of a negotiation. That person already feels like you have their best interest. It's kind of a name your price kind of
Yeah.
thing.
It's kind of like J. Abraham's principle of preeminence. If the prospect is better served by being sent to your competitor, then of course you're going to send them to your competitor.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think of the parallels to that, but you're probably right. I haven't heard Jake talk on that probably in 7 years, but yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. Awesome. And then you have this in your bio that you leverage the power of the internet in unique and out of the box ways. So I would love to hear some case examples of how out of the box you can get with your internet marketing.
Well, out of the box, it's like, let's say like the other day, me and a partner, we wrote a promo that smashed all the records for everything else that we've ever done. And sometimes when I like to create things, I do it backwards. From what a lot of times most people will build a product, and then once they have the product, they'll go send it to a copywriter. Copywriter go through the product and read it, study it, and then write copy to it. Well, we like to start with the copy in the very beginning, and basically with no restrictions, you just write and you can say anything you want, as much hyperbole as you want. Doesn't even have to be factual, keeping in mind that this was first draft, because I don't want anything stopping you from writing the most intense, compelling thing that there is. So if you're more in the mindset of I'm writing like a fictional thriller and a screenplay or something, you don't necessarily have to worry about backing it up with this Harvard study, or sometimes I might even write, Nobel Prize winner blank 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 says. I don't even know if the Nobel Prize winner said this, but in brainstorm mode, I like to allow myself to say absolutely anything. And then now you have this sales piece that when you look at it, you're like, holy crap, this is insane. This is a lot of great claims. And then you go back through in your editing phase and you're like, all right, which ones can I prove? Every one of these can I prove? And if I can't, then I can't use it. So can I edit this to make it something that I can prove? And once I pare those all down, then I get a bunch of claims and all these things that like, yeah, I could deliver and do that. I'm like, okay, then we go sell it, and then we go and create it. And we just basically fulfill every single claim that we made. And I find that is opposite of way most people. I know some people do that, but it's definitely out of the box, and I don't feel walls caving in like you can't do that. I feel like I can do anything. And then as long as I'm being honest, I can just edit it out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one example.
So you're selling it and then you're building it.
Yeah.
And presumably if you don't get enough sales, then you just refund the folks money that paid for it and just say, well, something came up. We can't build it now.
Yeah, if it were a flop, I guess you could do that. I don't know that I've ever had to go back and do that, but I mean, if you're refunding people's money, I would probably give them free gifts or something if I were to have gotten there as well. But I've been blessed enough too, because I've always listened to the market, and instead of always trying to impart what I think they want to hear, I've always used their own questions and their own survey answers, or even better than survey answers, their own behavior in which they've used a credit card in the past. I know you're doing this stuff for 17 years. You kind of already know what people want. So I rarely run into duds or bombs. I have not experienced that in my career. You often hear people say, oh, you got to fail this many times to be. I'm like, I'm hitting a homer first time, man. I don't know about you guys. I think there's a little bit of arrogance in that thinking, but I think there's also a lot of power in believing in yourself, and also knowing who you're writing to and knowing that you can do it, because you project this sense of like confidence. And when someone's giving you money, they want you to be confident. They want you to have the answers because they don't clearly have them. So, when you see somebody bragging and boasting, like, I'm the best, I don't know. It's like, do you want that, or do you want the guy over there who's meek and saying, I'm mediocre? Yeah.
Oh, I think having someone who's confident teaching you and has gotten the results and can prove it is the one I'd want teaching me.
Yeah. And so another out of the box thing, like I don't take on clients. And in fact, I actually encourage most people to fire all your clients, because I think doing work for clients is basically digging yourself, I don't want to say quite a grave, but it's digging yourself a hole that doesn't really allow you to be compensated for what you're worth many times. And it's just a huge roadblock. So, particularly now with COVID and more people becoming used to marketing online, or seeing the fact that a lot of these businesses can be done online and doesn't have to be in-house, guys like us, our skills are so immense and so desperately needed. And when you weigh the amount of people coming online that are being told, like, hey, you can do it too, you can be an expert, or you have a message, you can do this, and yeah, okay, you can, but the likelihood of you being successful now with the level of competition everywhere is so diminished that if you're able to find a marketing veteran to work with, you're incredibly lucky. So I think for every new entrepreneur that has a great idea, a viable business, there's 100 of those, but there's like one of us. And so when it comes to negotiation, I really think it just boils down to who needs who more. And I feel like all the leverage is in the digital marketer side, whether you're a copywriter, whether you're an SEO person, whether you're just an overall business strategist, or even better, if you're kind of a combination of all those things, or you have a grasp of all of them, so you can pluck together a team. That is so valuable that people are willing to give 30, 40, 50% of their business up to partner with somebody with those type of skills, because most people get online, they want to share their passion or what they're good at. They do not want to do the marketing stuff. They do not want to have to get on there and sell. They're already freaked out about selling because of all the negative crap that's said about salespeople throughout their whole life. So they're overwhelmed with that. And in their minds, they're thinking, man, if I could just focus on playing my guitar and teaching the lessons, and this guy can do all the business stuff for me, that is like a perfect partnership. Where do I sign up? And those deals are everywhere. Yet I see all of these marketers, copywriters, SEO people picking up clients for $3,000 a month, $5,000 a month. And great, it's a good gig. But I'm here to tell you, I think you're worth 5, 10, 20 times that in the right scenario.
Yep, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. Now, one thing that you mentioned about the guitar teacher and teaching somebody how to play the guitar reminded me of an example that Frank Kern would share, which is results in advance. If the person is trying to play the guitar and they're struggling, they're not figuring out how to play the F chord, teach them how to play the F chord for free out of your online course, and that will make them want to buy your entire course. And you can give away all of your best stuff out of your online course, and they'll still pay for it because they're not going to mentally set aside the things that they got for free from you. They're going to kind of mentally add it all together with what they got inside the paid course as well. So I don't know if you want to
I can't
add
believe you
any
went with
to
the
that.
F chord, man. We call that the ouch chord. That's literally the hardest chord that there is, and people struggle with so much. But you're right, and I think almost any business can benefit from helping people get those little results in advance. And yeah, I try to incorporate that as much as I can, for sure.
Yeah. Do you have an example of a home run kind of campaign that you put out there? Like, I don't know whether it was a webinar, a product launch, a JV, whatever, but something that really stands out as a huge win that
I could
people can learn from.
I could t- I could tell you my first big win. I was at the Golden Nugget, downtown Las Vegas. I think 2006ish maybe. Harlan Kilstein was doing a course called Value Based Copywriting, and it was all about teaching copywriters how to get paid what they're worth. And it was basically just a thing all about negotiating your fee when landing copywriting clients. And I remember, gosh, in the attendee room, there's Ray Edwards and Tina Lorenz and Chris Haddad and Mike Morgan, all like A-list copywriters now who've done extremely well for themselves. And Ray Edwards was there too. And I remember all of us just sitting there going, jaw dropped at the seminar, like, we're going to make so much money. It was such good training. And the funny thing is I really disliked Harlan before I even went to the event, and Harlan invited me for free. And I ended up going, and I even think I gave him a testimonial too after the thing. I was like, I hated you before this seminar, but now I love you.
That is awesome. That's the
But
best kind of testimonial, because a lame testimonial is just flowery and
yeah.
heaping praise on somebody or some system or tool. But the best ones, you cut right to the chase. Like, I almost didn't buy it. I did
Yeah.
not like this. I did not think it was the right fit or whatever. And you know what? I gave it a try anyways, and
Yeah,
thank
I've always
goodness I
been
did.
very honest in my critique of what I've learned, and I really appreciate him. I mean, my critique of testimony of him goes up and down and up and down. It's like a roller coaster. Like, I'm like, he's great, he's an asshole, he's great, he's an asshole. And he's the same things I say to him to his face. So for 15 years, it's been hilarious. But I really appreciative of some of the things that I learned from him, and instantly in that seminar, and I had never really made significant amount of money um, at this time. I think my biggest day was like a $2,800 day, which was huge to me at the time. And I'm selling these ebooks and videos on poker, how to play online poker. It was World Series of Poker had been on ESPN, and it was just a super hot niche, particularly when Chris Moneymaker, who wasn't a professional poker player, he won the big prize for the World Series. It was on ESPN. All of a sudden, every bro thinks that he can play poker, and it was easy pickings for a spotter like me. And so I'm sitting in the Golden Nugget, and we're trying to come up with copywriting stories. I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I need a story. I need to get kicked out of the casinos so I can use a story like the pit bosses don't want me in their room or whatnot. I needed a big enemy, but I don't like to lie in my copy. So I can't say the pit bosses don't want me in the casino if that's not true. So I had to go get kicked out of a casino, which I succeeded in. And then I ended up making a video. I put a ski mask over my face. And I said, I can't let the pit bosses see this. I can't let anyone know who I am, because what I'm teaching you in the Black Hat Poker program is so incredible. And I didn't even know what the Black Hat Poker program was. Similar like before, I wrote the pitch ahead of time and then built the course later. So I started making a series of product launch videos with my ski mask on, and I priced the course, I think, at $800. And at the time, there's nobody selling anything at that price. Phil Hellmuth had like a weekend with him for, I don't know, $1,500 or something. But in 2005-ish, 2006, online digital stuff, no one was selling anything for $800 in the poker niche. It was a bunch of like $47 ebooks. And so I had an email list of, I don't know, 5,000 people or something. I sent out the video to open up for registrations, and I think that day I made close to $40,000. and I was shocked. I had no idea if it would work, and I was afraid too. Like I thought cops were going to come arrest me, or so I thought I did something wrong. It was like too much money. Thought PayPal was going to hold it and shut me down. But what it really taught me too was that dang ski mask. Like outrageous things, you'd see like Bill Glazer and his outrageous promotions with Dan Kennedy or whatnot. It really let me know that the ridiculous things really do work to get attention. They might not necessarily be the thing that closes the deal, but oh my gosh, like if you can stand out from the crowd in some way, like I mentioned too, the red sombrero and drinking beers on stage. It was just so completely diametrically opposed to what everybody else was doing on stage there. I remember John Carlton had to follow me, and he was like, "Thanks, asshole." It's like, I gotta follow this clown show. It's like, what are you doing to me?
Yeah. Well, what that reminds me of is The Purple Cow by Seth Godin, and how the definition of remarkable, according to that book and to Seth, is worthy of remark. Right.
Yeah.
So if you're worthy of remark, that means you're not the best or the most valuable necessarily, but you are the one that people will remember or spread or speak about.
That Black Hat Poker promo did so well too. What I ended up doing is I ended up teaming up with some guys who had some tracking software. So if I played against you online, I could instantly input your username in. And these Carnegie Mellon math nerds had built this tracking thing that would show me like your last 1,500 hands. They would database every bit of info on the tables. And then they would put in a little graph that would give all these different stats that would bore most of your audience. But it would give me a really good indicator, whether or not I was sitting at a good table on each individual hand. I'd be a 67% chance or 26% chance, pot odds or this, and it would do all the math for me. So when somebody would see that, a potential customer would see that, it would be like, I have to have that. Like I'm at such a disadvantage for not having this. It made the sale real easy. It's kind of like even now I sell an NFT program, like how to flip NFTs. We've gone down that rabbit hole recently as well. And some of the tools that we have access to, when you see the tools, you're like, okay, I'm interested. I want to flip NFTs. Oh gosh, with this tool, now I'm really interested. In fact, I wouldn't even think of trying to trade without these tools because it offers a landslide of advantage by having them. So I think sometimes when you're selling too, similar to maybe not the results in advance that they're getting, but if you can showcase maybe like, here's the results I'm getting and why I'm getting them, and it's from this tool, then someone on the other end's like, gosh, I got to have that tool.
Yeah, it's almost like you have let's say you're car shopping, and you have the actual invoice for that car that the car lot paid for, and all the kind of inside information about that vehicle. So it's not just a Kelly Blue Book report; it's the actual invoice. So you've got the inside scoop.
Or imagine before Carfax existed, before we all knew about Carfax, and if you were telling somebody you could give a whole history report on a car, and someone didn't know that exists and they saw that, they're like, yeah, I have to have that. And in fact, nowadays, I mean, it's pretty insane to make a significant purchase without a Carfax report.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Let's hear a bit more about the NFT project you're doing. That sounds really interesting.
It's gosh, how did this? I started hanging out with a buddy of mine, Crypto Buffalo. Him and I drove around the country in our RVs years ago, and he was a videographer, and I remember there were times where he couldn't afford gas station food, and I'm footing the bill for him, and time goes by. We talk once a year or something, and then we start connecting, and all of a sudden he's become crypto rich. because he's got himself involved with a bunch of crypto guys who know what they're doing. They got early access to seed rounds on some coins where they like 100x their investments. And he was just doing really, really well. And so I started hanging out with this crew called Lad City on YouTube. And it was just a bunch of crypto nerds. And they were, this was about a year ago. So NFTs were still kind of foreign to most average people. But these guys were going down the rabbit hole big time with the NFTs. And I remember me and my partner, David, were like, stop talking about the NFTs. We always want to talk about the crypto coins, crypto coins. And slowly we realized as they ventured off the NFT, I'm like, you know what, there's something here. So we just jumped in and started buying some. And figures, my first day flipping NFTs, I think I bought 3, sold them within 24 hours or so, and made about $1,000. And so right away I was hooked. And that is not indicative of not everybody's going to go buy 3 NFTs in their first day and make $1,000. But it was perfect timing. And then we started going down the rabbit hole more and more and more, playing more and more with different things. And then we started losing some money here and there. And then we would get duped on a scam or a rug pull. And all of a sudden we had so many friends emailing us and messaging us wanting to get involved too. And we realized you should not do this without knowing all these different security measures, how to protect your wallet, how to spot these scams, how to vet a project, and things that are kind of intuitive to me. Being a spotter, I can see those. Not everybody else can. I was watching a lot of my friends lose a lot of money trying to do the same thing. So we decided, all right, we're not going to be those guys who's just going to create an NFT course to take advantage of the popularity of the market. You know, I get it. That's what most marketers do. They judge everything off of, you know, how many keywords is this and the opportunity, this, and that. I don't like to do that necessarily. I like to only be involved in things that I really enjoy and I'm passionate about. And so we decided that it would make a lot of sense for us to teach from a very beginner standpoint and teach here's how to set up a wallet, here's how to do all the ABCs of NFTs, and bring people along. And then there's more advanced stuff towards the back as well. So we spent about a year really learning the space and then created a course. And oh my gosh, we launched NFTprofits.com, and I was blown away. I think our video sales letter we did was like converted 17% to our internal list, which is like, I'd never written anything that converted that high. And I still don't even believe it. It wasn't an astronomical amount of traffic, but you know, it was still a good chunk of change. And then we ran an affiliate partner 2 weeks ago, and it still converted at like 6% for them. And I was like, we got a winner here. And
did you wear a ski mask?
I didn't wear a ski mask, but the cool thing about this is, I wish I could tell you is that the NFT space and the crypto space, it allows you to be comedic, and it's, you know, it's a bunch of kids or, you know, a bunch of people just having fun playing with what seems like Monopoly money in a sense, until you actually withdraw it and put it in your account. It just doesn't, something about it seems weird. So, you know, these NFT projects are named silly things like crypto dick butts. And I bought a bunch of Aussie bats the other day that you can bite into these bats. And it's just so silly. And for me, it was a real needed time distraction during COVID when everything was so sad. I felt like that really saved me in many ways. You don't go into a Discord or a Twitter board conversation and talk about Biden or Putin or Trump that often. The crypto community, not that they don't care about that, but there's so many other things going on. It was such a breath of fresh air from those kind of conversations. And so, yeah, I kind of got lured into it, and now I'm neck deep. We got a whole business; it's doing well, and we're just about to open it up to affiliates this week and start hitting the gas pedal on it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Have you bought an
And
NFTs?
oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
What got you into it?
Uh, I'll give the flip it answer. I was that Saturday Night Live skit where it was like an
Yeah.
Eminem a parody thing. It was funny. I like, okay, I get it. Like it's jumped the shark now. I can't believe I haven't I haven't even bought any yet. So yeah, I figured that out. It's not a big area for me, but it is something that I do play. I dabble. Yep.
I also think that we're in an age of the NFTs. Like right now, we're all kind of guinea pigs. And I think that 95% of the NFTs out there are worthless, as are the projects, even the manufactured utility and the things that they're trying to create to put some value behind them, I think is BS. Um, but I think the overall technology of what NFTs have created, I feel like there'll be a big crash, whether it's anytime soon or a year or two for now. A lot of these ridiculous projects will get wiped out. A lot of people will lose a lot of money. And then we'll kind of have built the foundation of what these things can actually be really usable for. Re-registering your, the title on your car instead of having to go to DMV, you might be able to just digitally do that kind of stuff. And all kinds of things through commerce, concert tickets, art ownership. I mean, there's so many legitimate things that it could be used for, but that's in the future. And right now, I think we're all just being a little sidetracked with these silly characters. But in the meantime, it's super fun.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I remember hearing at the DeFi and NFT conference in Miami a few months ago. One of the speakers described NFTs in the future as that'll be the holding place for a new baby's birth records, medical records, legal records, everything that that child needs stored won't be in these disparate databases anymore. It'll be within an NFT.
Very likely. Makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you vet a project? How do you know that it's legit or it's not legit? And that could go not just for NFTs, but for like altcoins as well.
I'm not too skilled on picking the altcoins. For me, with the altcoins, I guess I just look at the ones that are associated with metaverse or play to earn gaming, just because I
Mm-hmm.
think video games are just never going to stop. And so I think most of those coins are pretty safe. I'm not a big person to buy Bitcoin just because I can't envision it getting a 5-10x anytime soon, but a lot of these altcoins can.
Mm-hmm.
But with the NFTs, there's quite a few things I look at. Obviously, the first thing is just the actual people on the project. If they're not doxxed or not publicly known, I'm a little sketched out. There's
Mm-hmm.
also, I've invested in projects too, though, that I had absolutely no confidence in at all, but I knew I could get a quick flip out of it because you could see the metrics. So I kind of associate it to like playing poker where you can see your opponent's cards. You just can't necessarily see what the dealer is going to flop next, but there's so much data out there, um, whether it's how many social followers they have, how much interaction those social followings are getting in comparison to the amount of NFTs they're trying to sell. You can kind of gauge how much action could potentially be there. Then they have the whitelist, where whitelist people get to buy a day early or a little bit earlier than everyone else. You can judge like how fast the whitelist sells out as well. If it's something that I could see myself investing in, there's different investments I'll make. Some are, for 24 hours. Some, might be trying to ride it out for 30 days. Others, I will want to see it successful years and years and years and want to be a part of that project. So there's so many variables in that right there. And then you hear a lot about utility, like what can the actual NFT do? And most of the utility of these things is really vague. They just like, oh, you can be part of our community and you get access to special airdrops and whitelisted for other projects. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But I have an NFT called a Squishy Squad, and those guys actually have a bunch of bots that show you all kinds of different NFT sales going on and when whales are minting things. And that's a beautiful thing about the blockchain and NFTs is everything is visible. I can spy into your wallet if I know the address and see everything that you own, everything that you're doing. So having access to these type of tools is a real valuable utility, and therefore people will hold on to that NFT because they want access to the tool. If they sell the tool or sell the NFT, they lose access to the tool. So to me, the utility is a really big thing. If it has a coin associated to it, if it's a character that's going to be played in a game or in the metaverse, that is a big plus. But nowadays too, everyone's saying, yeah, you're going to get this and you're going to be able to use it in the metaverse in 2029. Or like everyone's promising these things that are so far in the future. Not 29, but everyone says they're going to have this metaverse stuff ready next year. Like, no, you're not. You're not. And there's an interesting thing going on too. Like we were about to launch an NFT project ourselves, and I get tons of people emailing me asking like, hey, I want to launch an NFT project. Can you help me? Or can you give me some advice? And my advice to most people is don't, because what ends up happening is with 90% of these, if not a lot more, the only person really getting rich is the creator. So with an online course, if I sell you something, I can make all my promises and I can control the deliverable to you and fulfill those promises. And if for any reason you're unhappy, I can give you your money back. And I feel good about that transaction. In an NFT thing, I now all of a sudden have 5,000 investors who bought something from me and are expecting it to rise in value. And now I have all this pressure for them to continue to do things to keep up that value. And to me, that is a responsibility I don't ever really want to have. Like to me, the idea of taking VC money from investors and stuff, I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare. I'm like, I couldn't even imagine. Now you want to tell me I'm going to take investment money from 5,000 different people?
Yeah, it
No
totally
way.
can
It
be
sounds
a
like
nightmare just taking VC money. Are you familiar with Rand Fishkin? He was my co-author on The Art of SEO on the first two editions, and he wrote a tell-all
I'm
book
not.
about the VC experience of taking money from venture capital, vulture capital. Yeah, it's
Yes.
Lost and Founder is the name of the book. If you want to pick that one up, I think you would enjoy it.
So many of these people that are running these NFT projects, they went into it with all, nothing but goodwill and whatnot, but they didn't realize now that they've collected their money and now the flippers are out there trading it and the value is just starting to go down and down and down. They're scrambling to try to save the value for all these other people, and it rarely works out well, and it creates a lot of stress for a lot of people. And so the day before we were about to launch our NFT project, we turned it off.
Wow.
We just said, you know what, man, I just would rather sell the picks and shovels, the how-to information, teach people how to do stuff. I don't want to be responsible for being an NFT project owner. Now, that's not to say that I won't do it in the future if I feel like I can provide something that has legitimate utility. That's why, like, say for instance, if I sold an NFT right now and one of the utilities was if you own an NFT, you can access my NFT profits course. Well, we sell that thing for $497. So right now, no matter what, your NFT is worth a minimum of $497. And so I could see that being a good utility, but man, I don't know.
Hmm.
I like to simplify things in business, and none of this stuff seems simple from that perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Uh,
But that's not to confuse, the whole other side of the coin is, being the investor, just being the guy who's buying one or two to either flip them or buying to support a community, people you believe in. And some of the access to communities I really dig. I like hanging out with a lot of these people. There's a lot of very smart people, a lot of fun people, and just a great distraction away from some of the other things that can capture your time.
yeah. Yep, for sure. So, do you play to earn games at all? Have you played them?
No way, man. No way. No, I, dude, my team tried to wrangle me into building a guild, and where we would basically buy hundreds of characters and then let people from around the world who can't afford to buy their own characters, they would essentially borrow ours. They would go and play the play to earn games, and then the money they make's distributed. They keep half, we keep half, or whatever the cut is. And we were doing the math, and we're like, oh my gosh, these guys building guilds could make a lot of money, a lot. We're where they were talking to VC guys, talking about throwing in big six-figure amounts to help build out this guild. And I just started counting all the moving parts that would be needed to to wrangle all these people. And I was like, I'm really not interested in herding kittens to play video games.
Mhm.
And I was like, I don't care how much money's on the table here. There's too many moving parts. Too many things could go wrong. I'm gonna go back to selling ebooks, bro.
And the metaverse is going to be so different from what we imagine it now in say 5 years time. I do really think
Well,
that there are two books that I would recommend our listener check out, or you, if for that matter, Jason. One is Ready Player One. It's a fantastic book. I'll highly recommend the Audible audiobook version. And then the other one is it's The Diamond Age, a young lady's illustrated primer by Neil Stevenson, and that is also great as an audiobook. So both of those books give you a sense for what's coming, and it's going to be pretty out there in terms of what we would expect.
yeah. I've been toying with the idea recently. It's funny because you and I, before we hit the record button, were talking about psychics, and
Yes, as
one
you
of the
do.
things that um, I have been toying with the idea of not only buying land in Sandbox or any of these other metaverses that exist, because I'm an idiot actually. I could have got one of the cheapest pieces on the Sandbox. I think it was $2,500 last time I had looked, and then within like 3 days, it was already up to 12,000. Was the cheapest little parcel you could get, and that's just for a digital piece of land, and that's sold as an NFT as well. And but I started thinking about, what if you were to buy parcels of land and then actually develop the land as well, and then flip the land as a developed piece. And I was like, well, what kind of services could somebody put in the metaverse right now that could be usable? So my friends at CryptoVoxels, they were throwing like raves over or they're called the Dreamer Squad, but there's a platform called CryptoVoxels, which has their own weird metaverse. It's not totally developed. And so these guys would throw like rave dance parties in this big warehouse that they built out. And they would do magic shows and DJs and rappers and all kinds of weird things in there. And you're in there dancing with your little character. But I left the party and I started walking through the neighborhoods, and you start seeing like Atari's building out this thing, and some big companies are building out some cool things. and then you go a few more blocks and you're in the ghetto, and it's just nothing is being developed yet. And so my brain was thinking, like, well, I wonder, could I put a psychic shop, right? Could I buy this parcel, build out a psychic shop, and then somebody could actually walk into this psychic shop, pay a little bit of Ethereum and get a reading, or maybe a tarot reading, or I started thinking, heck, it could be family counseling, divorce mentor. It could be all kinds of different crazy things, selling information inside the metaverse. It's going to be wild to see where this goes. So my whole thinking was, what about buying plots of land, developing them, and then selling them as a whole already to existing businesses so they could come in and be in business?
That's actually a cool idea. I like that.
It is. I
Yeah.
think it's still a little premature, but it's going to happen. So I mean, I think the play right now would just be to stock up on the land. I don't think most businesses would understand how valuable it's going to be.
Yeah.
Be a little tough sell.
Stock up on the psychics as well. That's a great way to end this episode. All right, so if our listener wanted to follow you and learn from you, besides going to nftprofits.com and buying the course on NFT flipping, you also have equity equity5000.com, which is another uh, course and program. You might want to mention what that is, and just your main site and any socials you want to share as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty blessed that my name, Jason Moffatt, if you spell it right, Moffatt, I own all my socials. So I'm basically my first and last name everywhere, jasonmoffatt.com. I'm on most of all the socials. The Equity 5000 is an invite thing right now, but by the time you publish this, I'll actually probably put a page on there so people can see that. That is all about helping digital entrepreneurs, whether you're a copywriter, an SEO type person, or just an overall marketer who provides marketing services to people. It really helps you to think differently about the value that you provide, the skills that you possess, and how much they're actually worth, and then how to negotiate an offer that is a win-win-win deal. I like to add in that third win there, because I want to have a win for myself. I want to create a win for my partners. And then I also want to create a win for the customers as well. So if we can do that, that's fantastic. So yeah, you can go to equity5000.com. You can go to nftprofits.com. You can Google my name. And gosh only knows what you'll see after 17 years of shenanigans.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Jason. Thank you, listener, and make it a great rest of your week. I'm your host, Stephan Spencer, signing off. We'll catch you on the next episode.